Hi, I'm Philippa Bentham, and today I'm going to be talking to you about whether it's possible or indeed desirable to improve organisational performance using HR and strategy. Please feel free to leave comments, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Firstly, I'm going to focus on using a training and development strategy. I will be talking about what is training and development, as well as an overview of the UK's implementation of training, and then I will have a critical discussion on whether it's possible to improve organisational performance in small and medium businesses and large organisations, as well as if it's desirable. So, what is training and development? Well, Harrison and Kessel define HR strategy as one that's trying to align with the organisational strategy by using the different techniques of managing people to effectively enhance the organisation's strategy. Training and development can be defined as learning and development sometimes, so it's important that we state what learning is as well. Banfield and Kay 2008 define learning as the fundamental human process involving growth and change, and is inferred from the differences in what one knows, one believes and one does. It's a way we can improve and be different from what we once were, and therefore it's key to training and development. CIPD 2005 defined training as an instructor-led, content-based intervention that leads to a change in one's behavioural skill level. And development can be defined by Collin 2010 as changes in the longer-term process of training and learning in the employee and what they're capable of, and how it can be developed and utilised to enhance job performance. Keynote found the UK training market spent an estimated £19.39 billion in 2011 on off-the-job training, and therefore this suggests there is substantial room to improve organisational performance using training. Further, Keynote 2011 stated that there appeared to be a bid to be more experimental in training, with organisations developing their e-learning programmes. This is important as Honey and Mumford 1982 Learning Style Questionnaire have highlighted the fact that people have different learning styles, thus the needs to be considered for training. So, types of training organisations commonly use to improve their productivity are on-the-job training, computer-assisted training such as e-learning, and off-the-job training, usually a job training department involving classroom-based learning, videos, presentations, team activities and tests. For a more specialist job, they may outsource someone. So, the Federation of Small Businesses 2012 reported that SMEs employ 14.1 million people in the UK, but is it possible to train and develop these people in order to improve the organisations? Well, firstly, Henry Jones, Arthur and Pettigrew 1991, as cited in Harrison 2000, highlights in contrast to large organisations, SMEs employ less people with skill categories and tend to not to need formal training, and also have problems with getting the skill mix that they need to survive and adapt to technological change, thus suggesting that training would improve the organisational productivity. However, Kesey and Watson 1993, as cited in Harrison, suggest that our key challenges to successfully training in an SME. Firstly, SMEs have small budgets and timeframes, thus there is scepticism as whether training can actually outweigh the costs, especially when some SMEs' goal is stability rather than growth. However, in order to survive, Abbott 1994 found that training is possible, but on a mandatory level, such as shadowing and on-the-job training, rather than structured or technical packages, as they're just not possible. Indeed, Liu and Bat 2007 found informal training makes a vital contribution to the business. However, Harrison 2000 highlights that most managers of SMEs are largely inexperienced, and thus it is difficult to implement any successful training without knowledge of the manager's learning style or how it can benefit the organisation. It can be argued lack of experience doesn't matter when informal training is largely unplanned and is only used to operate on a mandatory level. Indeed, Harrison 2000 states it creates flexible training individualised to the employee's capabilities, which can therefore create a clearer way of reaching primary goals and change within the company easily. Further, employees are likely to invest and commit to training for the survival of the firm. And Manwaring and Wood 1985 found that informal training can create a culture of tacit skill through copying and watching, which can create a competitive advantage. However, employees may not stay within the company long term with better offers from larger firms. There is little room for development in small companies, which some employees would see as a reward, and thus skills are often stolen. To keep the return on their investment, the organisation may need to complement training with a contract or incentive. Although this informal training appears to be possible and successful, the limitations as the company grows and needs formal training are prominent, as it doesn't have the resources. However, Harrison 2000 does suggest that this can be combated by reducing the cost with increased knowledge of external provision and identification of clear ways to improve performance. In larger organisations, the possibilities of training and development to improve company performance are much broader. Firstly, Goss and Jones 1992 suggests these organisations do tend to have the resources to formally train more employees. However, a key problem is whether they can effectively train everybody. Hall 2005 suggests that effective trainers can correctly diagnose the learning style and maximise one learning. However, if not, then training delivery may only increase certain employees' performance. And thus it may be beneficial for organisations to create an awareness for managers in training. As Sadler-Smith 1996 found it is possible to deliver effective training using different varieties of methods to get the return on investment. However, Mumford 1994, as cited in Sadler-Smith 1996, found it was hard to encapsulate all learning styles into training due to the sheer scale of employees, and thus individualised training would be too time costly and unrealistic. Therefore, can managers really train employees in the first place? Further, as we saw earlier, formalised training appears to predominantly be classroom-based, which may be considered fairly mundane and disengage the employees. However, there is an increasing emphasis on e-learning, which can be massively advantageous in incorporating a variety of learning methods and tests to learn from, as well as creating a more individualised understanding, which would not disrupt productivity and reduce costs. However, to link training to organisational performance, it might not be as simple as merely delivering a training programme. Applebaum, Bailey, Berg and Caliber 2000, as in Poor and Bosley 2008, suggested an AMO model can increase employee performance. However, you not only need the ability, but the motivation and opportunity to use the training skill. Thus, it would seem necessary that organisations would need to implement strategies such as reward and performance appraisals to enhance the possibility of better company performance. Further, as larger organisations can offer more training resources to employees, it allows, as Truitt 2011 says, the development of employees, which can act as a reward, creating engagement and satisfaction, which in turn can increase productivity and encourage innovation, keeping a competitive organisational performance. However, that is not possible if you confuse employees with irrelevant training schemes that will have no use in their job or the company. Thus, it is important to plan who needs training, what needs to be trained, and how it can be trained in order for it to be clear and measurable, as well as beneficial in the long term due to the changing nature of business. So, is it desirable for firms to use training and development to improve their organisational performance? Training can be most desirable, but factors do need to be considered about the cost, resources and implementation of training in order to make it worthwhile for the organisation. There is definitely possibility to use training strategy to improve organisational performance. However, there are situations where it is not possible to benefit the company. Whilst it can be very desirable and rewarding using strategy, there are instances where costs may outweigh benefits and development of staff is not always possible or appropriate for the business. In order to assess the potential and the usefulness of training and development to benefit performances, managers need to be aware of employee learning, relevance of training implementation and resources available.